This is a crazy thing. Back in the day, before the first iPhone came out, there was a reporter who was interviewing Steve Jobs on TV. And we're gonna take a look at this. The footage is like grainy and old, and it's priceless to see Steve's look of anger, but he gets himself under control as she says something about the upcoming phone. And Steve's like, what? We haven't even announced that yet. And you have to keep in mind, Apple has a long history of being very secretive, of disliking leakers. And so let's just roll this clip and see what you think of Steve's reaction to this reporter who obviously had some inside info.
Last question. I have an iPod Shuffle, and I am very curious and eager to know when I might be able to buy an iPhone. Can you tell me when that'll be available?
You know, we never talk about unannounced products, so if we ever do announce something like that, I'd love to talk to you about it then.
All right. Well, we appreciate your joining us. Thanks again, and good luck with your new store. Thanks a lot.
Now that's pretty funny. Number one, it's not funny, if you're Steve and you worked really hard on this thing and the team worked hard on it and you wanted to have it just be a big surprise. And it was legitimately world-changing, earth-shattering when you got up there and it was like, we've got a new product, and it was actually, hey, these three things are merging and becoming one. It was the iPhone, and it was epic. But imagine you work hard on that and somebody comes in and just steals your thunder a little bit, or tries to. Now, she knew what she was doing, right? She wanted to kind of get an edge and break this story here. And you can just see on his face, I'm about to show you. Very briefly, if you haven't signed up for the Daily Tech newsletter, by the way, that's something you need to do immediately. Free, comes out on Fridays, doesn't waste your time. By the way, it comes with some free wallpaper every week, so why would you want to miss that? Like, here she is asking about it. She calls it an iPhone, right? There's some serious, look at her face and look at his face as he's figuring this out. And he's just like, what? And let me just fast forward there. The look down, it tells you everything. Right there, he's thinking, who did this? Who leaked it? And somebody's about to get fired. But he snaps out of it, and you can see he's like, hey, that's an unannounced thing. If we ever did something like that, then I'll be happy to talk about it. You have to remember though, for as funny as this is in retrospect, her asking about an iPhone was kind of weird because people at the time weren't really taking Apple serious when it came to the phone. There was a company called Palm. Does anybody remember that? And they just sort of laughed off the idea of Apple getting into the phone market. Like the Palm Trio, if you're old enough to remember, that was like a big deal. And the thought of Apple getting into the space was something to be made fun of. But then, as she mentioned, iPod, she has an iPod that she liked. When you roll everything into what became the iPhone, and you had a device for the first time that was this sleek, handheld, powerful computer with these apps that was a touch interface, it was paradigm shifting. I actually think that it was somewhat inevitable for Apple to launch this, to get to the point where they were going to put out an iPhone, with the app, or the Mac with the iPod. It sort of was a logical next step. If you're watching this clip, it's very likely that you own an Apple device. And if you do, and you'd like to learn how to be more productive, I've got a course for you. It's called Learning to Be Productive. And it's gonna help you get more done in less time with less burnout in the Apple ecosystem. I'll link it up down below. So maybe it's not all that crazy that she kind of guessed the name there, iPhone, but I think what was unexpected then was what the iPhone actually turned out to be. And then look at it all these years later in the ways that it has and hasn't changed, right? It's still very similar to the form factor. It's just sort of been slimmed down and enhanced and upgraded in various ways. But the world is never the same, that's for sure. And this look, I don't know if you can relate to this. This is like the look of somebody's gonna pay and I'm gonna find out who. Drop a comment down below with the last time you had this look and what it was all about. And if you think, I think this is Erin Burnett that did this interview, right? She's been around forever apparently. But if you think that she had more inside information about this, or did she kind of just get lucky? There was an iPod and she sort of like pieced it together. There must be something called an iPhone that might be coming out. Let me know your thoughts.